I don't do intros. How you guys doing today? I'm doing all right today. Today I'm bringing you what I'm calling the True Guts build. Honestly, it's not really a True Guts build. It's just my version of a Guts build. But I'm hoping to inspire some of you guys to make your own kind of builds like this. Not exactly like this, but you know, basically I'm hoping to inspire creativity with this build. And we'll talk about this build in a bit, but first guys, if you guys wouldn't mind liking and subscribing to the video, man, I would greatly appreciate it. Go follow my Twitch if you haven't already. Go join my PVPBuilds Discord. There you can drop your clips, you can communicate with me, you can show me your fashion, whatever you want in that Discord. Um, but yeah, guys, we are back. We've made what I'm calling my guts build. You might be looking at the guts build that's on the screen right now and being like, well, this doesn't look right at all. That's because this is not your typical cookie cutter strength build, greatsword guts build. This, you know, when I make my builds, and this goes for all of my builds, I uh, I tend to put a lot of thought into the character's design, what they're wearing, what they're using. I try to incorporate, integrate a lot of things into the character itself to make the character feel like, you know, it's a it's a real thought out work of art. Um, I don't just I don't just use what's meta or things like that. If I did, then this would just be a strength build. This is not a strength build. This is a arcane strength build with beast incantations and roaring stuff in it. Like we have barbaric roar, we have the highland axe, we have the roar medallion to boost the damage and stuff like that for this build. I will break down this build, but before I do, if you guys are interested in like the stats and whatnot of this build, all of that stuff will be at the end of the video. I know that there's a lot of traffic around Elden Ring nowadays. The trailer really inspired the DLC trailer that is for ShadowOfTheErdtree. Really inspired a lot of people to come back into the game. So I know a lot of you probably don't know who I am or never really interacted with me and stuff like that. I am Dust Insanity. I make build videos for Elden Ring, and a lot of my builds are very, very creative. Uh, I like to say that I like to make characters more than builds, and this one is no exception. So I've named this character the Struggler, and if you're wondering why he is called the Struggler, well, if you're a smarty pants, you know that that is a Berserk reference. Skull Knight calls Guts the Struggler. He doesn't call him Guts. He calls him Struggler. Um, so that's like another aspect I kind of took from Berserk. This build's mainly like really heavily Berserk inspired, rather than it just being Guts. Um, so obviously we're using the Greatsword. So what inspirations did I draw from Guts as a character? Well, he has a big sword. He wears armor with cape on it. He has what he mostly calls, or at least a lot of people call, the Beast of Darkness. And he tends to be an angry boy. So I wanted to incorporate all those things into this build. So what I've done is I've done a couple of things actually. So obviously I'm using the Greatsword because it's, I think for the most part the Greatsword itself is actually called the Guts Greatsword. People just call it Gugs now. Like that's just its official name at this point. So I went with the Greatsword, and then I got just enough strength to be able to one-hand it, and then of course I put the strength and not tier in my flask to boost my strength even further. I'm still not sure if I can actually two-hand it on this build without the physic. I don't actually know. Without the physic, I definitely can't, but with the physic, I think I do have to to still two-handed. I don't remember how much. I think we get about 26, 27 strength, something like that. And then obviously that's being boosted by the physics, so it'd be up to like 36, 37, something like that. And then we have just enough faith to be able to use the beast incantations, because obviously Guts has a beast of darkness. And we're using the beast claw seal for that because that scales with strength, and strength is pretty much our highest damage stat. But you might be noticing something strange about this build is that we are bleed infusing our weapons. That's because we have 20 arcane on this build, and the reason why I went with 20 arcane, keep in mind this is a level 60 build, so a lot of the stats are very spread thin for as much as you know as we can. They're pretty much really spread thin. So the reason why I have 20 arcane is because you get a ton of bleed buildup on these big colossal weapons. Now the only problem with that is that you're really minimizing your damage quite a bit. So I thought of ways to boost the damage of the bleed colossal sword at level 60. Now obviously if you're a higher level, then that really isn't too much of an issue for you. You still have a decent amount of damage on a bleed infused big weapon. If you're like level 130 or 160 or something like that, you could probably easily get up to 45, 50 arcane and be just fine, just putting the rest of your points into strength. Obviously I'm at level 60, so I don't have the luxury of having all those points. So I thought of another way that still felt pretty Guts themed to boost the damage of the Greatsword. And I will explain it right now. So the way we're doing this is we have an Ash of War on the Greatsword called Barbaric Roar. Now what Barbaric Roar does is that it boosts your physical damage and it also changes your R2 attacks. So I've blood infused the Greatsword with a Barbaric Roar, and again what that does is it changes your R2 attacks, and because it changes the R2 attacks, you have a true combo, which you've seen me do several times already in this video, with the Greatsword. It kind of is like two big swings and then followed up by a third one. And now the third one doesn't true combo, but the first two do. And if you have a blood infused colossal Greatsword like I do right here, you get a ton of bleed buildup on those first two hits. Because every hit from the Greatsword gives you a ton of bleed buildup, especially if you have a decent amount of arcane, which we do. We have at least 20, and there's the attack I'm talking about right there. So there are ways to boost the damage of a Barbaric Roar. There's two different ways you can do this. Now I don't think Alexander's Shard works with it, but I could be wrong. If I'm wrong about that, let me know in the comment section down below if I'm wrong about the Alexander's Shard thing. But I know for sure that the Roar Medallion does boost the damage of all of your roars, including Barbaric Roar. And then, of course, something else that people might not know is that the Highland Axe actually boosts your roar damage as well. So combine those two together, you get a decent amount of a DPS increase. Not too much, but it's something, and Guts is liable to scream out of anger. So that's kind of why I went with that idea. And of course, I love the R2 attacks. They do so much bleed buildup. They give you a good damage increase, and they fit the character theme pretty well. As far as the armor and stuff I'm using, this is just kind of armor that I really have been wanting to use for a long time. I didn't really know what build to put it on, but I do still think that this character that you're looking at right now could just be thrown right into the Berserk universe and fit in just fine. So yeah, guys, that's kind of my Berserk theme build. My Guts theme build is a struggler with a big sword that is bleed infused. He's screaming all the time, and he has beast incantations. Now, the point of me saying this is that I feel like I got pretty creative with this build. In that, you know, you look at this build, maybe you don't think of guts, but this is very, very guts inspired. All the elements from this build are very, very guts inspired. And you don't have to, like, you know, do a guts cosplay to do a guts build. Um, and I'd argue that my build is funner than most. Um, so yeah, I kind of just wanted to show you that there are different ways to interpret a character in Elden Ring. I think people really forget that Elden Ring, first and foremost, is an RPG, and you should play it as an RPG. If you think something is cool, you should use it. If you think something looks cool, you should wear it. Um, yeah, try not to be a slave to meta, is what I'm trying to say here. And, you know, build your own builds that you're proud of. Of course, I can be inspiration for that. Anybody can be inspiration for that. But at the end of the day, man, make your builds your own. And that's what I always preach here on this channel. Um, but with that being said, guys, I would really appreciate if you guys like and subscribe to the video, man. If you like this kind of content, this kind of PvP content, invasions, duels, Elden Ring stuff, I do it all. And go follow my Twitch if you haven't already. I stream there sometimes. Go join my PVPBuilds Discord. Lots of people hang out over there. I hang out over there. It's a good time. And with that being said, guys, fare thee well, peace out, and all that fun stuff. And don't you dare go hollow, friends.